Welcome back everyone. In the last part we covered some decent skills, some situational ones, and ones that just fail on all accounts. But now we're on to the good ones. So, let's finish this gargantuan list. Another skill that I used quite often back in the day was Mini Nuke. It's bar none the most destructive skill, with its insane damage and prolonged explosion. It's a great choice for causing some destruction, but for PvP, it falls a little bit short. Being a smaller variant of the Nuke, it shares their slow descent speed and easily noticeable trace laser, along with having by far the longest recharge time of all skills. Hard to use with severely limited usage, you'll be lucky to average 40 points with this skill. But the damage it deals to players makes it worth the setup and trouble, so I'm not complaining. While not as bad as trip mines, gravity mines are annoying inconveniences, and its effect translates the best out of the status effect bombs to skill form. You all know the feeling of having your ability to jump disabled by those metal-plated gems and the effect duration feeling like an eternity, so weaponizing that effect makes this, in my opinion, the most devilish skill. I can only imagine players' annoyance when I strip them of their jump ability while in a dangerous spot. Ah!
Ah, hell!
I've already stated that Ice Tower is decent at giving you height if you're having difficulties with vertical mobility, but the Truss is even better and more fun. Its cooldown is short enough that you can summon another Truss before the previous one expires, allowing you to reach crazy heights. Not that you really need to be there. But if you're not interested in touching the arena ceiling, you can just stand on top of the Truss and block others' path. Good times. Before it was nerfed, the Fireball was deadly. You were able to move it around like the turkey, except you could actually move it to places, and it killed players fast. Its former power may have been taken away, but the fun certainly hasn't. Your big ball of gas still deals pretty good damage to players, and it has a decent recharge rate. There are a couple of new downsides you need to look out for. Aside from the obvious speed weakness, it can be extinguished by bomb explosions and ice attacks. And it has no hitbox when it's growing, so you can't just hug someone and make them kiss your fireball.
Caputus! Crepitus!
Nice shot!
Ah, the sucker bomb. Who doesn't love kicking them around? These are better to use in PvP than the foot bomb for a number of reasons. They're more consistent when you kick them, they can get into more areas, and they give more points for every hit. All that, and they're just more fun to use in general. Also, I really love the air horn sounds they emit. I just think it's funny.
Woohoo! Alright!
I initially didn't think much of the ice spikes. Hell, I kind of forgot they existed until I used them for this video. Unlike the Super Egg Bomb, however, they're pretty good. The spikes have good area coverage, so it's not too difficult to land hits on players, and its payout makes it pretty easy to score over 100 points. As good as the spikes are, there are some skills later on that are just more satisfying or entertaining to use. Sometimes you just want to make bombs disappear because they drive you mad. That's fine and dandy, but any good player knows how to evade bombs they can see coming. That said, Disarm is surprisingly fun to use. This skill works on everything, even nukes. While it's not the most practical thing at normal intensities, at high intensities, this works as a pretty good support skill. There's a lot of scary stuff at Intensity 5, I know from experience. Even if you don't need it, it's still fun to watch bombs close in on you and delete them. Or you can be a huge asshole and deny someone's mini nukes. Sometimes taking damage is unavoidable. This can happen in many different ways. Sometimes you can see it coming, other times you can't. But when it comes to the former, the Forcefield is a good answer to this problem. Whether you're cornered by bombs, need to make a blast jump, or you're tripped up in a deadly situation, you can avoid damage with this powerful skill. The reason it isn't any higher though is because your uses get more limited the more skilled you get at the game. Unless you tend on using it to do stupid things like tripping nukes and swimming in lava. Not that there's anything wrong with that, I mess around in this game a lot. I used these a lot when they were new, and I still get a kick out of them today. This may be the only instance where tossing an area denial weapon onto enemies is funny. There's just something so satisfying about landing a 6-pointed Caltrop on others. The only drawback is that the payout is a little weak. Not that it makes jack-rocking your enemies any less funny. With this skill, you get to weaponize the slowest lightning bolt in the universe. For an electric discharge that doesn't travel 1/3 the speed of light, this can cause plenty of chaos. This is the best airstrike skill. Electrified parts are bad news, much like burning parts, but what truly puts this above the other skills of its type is its speed. It's faster than all the other airstrike skills, making it easier to use. Its payout is still somewhat on the low side, but with its superior descent speed, you won't really care much. Chances are, you know this skill from my perks video. Whatever the case, I finally get to talk about the box of chocolates that is the magic dice. In case you don't get that Forrest Gump reference, this gives you a random skill complete with its recharge time, making you and your experience totally unpredictable. Sure, it does come down to luck whether you get good or bad skills, but that's the fun of the magic dice.
You never know what you're gonna get.
Okay, I'll stop with the movie references now. By the way, I accidentally found a use for the super magnet of all things. It attracts bomb people, so you can use it to troll them. That doesn't affect the skill's rank though. And here we have one of the better mine skills. The shock mine is a little better than the lightning bolt since it can cover more area if placed correctly and it can take players by surprise. But overall, I just have fonder memories with this skill, and I am not talking about the infinite shock mine video. This skill is always fun to use as long as it doesn't cause a server crash. While I stand by calling trip mines the most annoying bomb, black hole generators are still aggravating to get caught in. This skill is the super magnet a much needed coffee. It pulls in debris and players within its reach, leaving them vulnerable to other harmful things out for their studs. We've all been in that situation where we get sucked into an unsuspected black hole and buried in burning or electrified parts with missiles targeting us. But what if that black hole was from you? This may be even more evil than the gravity pulse, if not for the fact that it's hard to use combined with a mediocre payout. Still, black hole generators are bombs you really don't want to get in touch with. The classic rocket launcher, or the brick shooter as I like to call it, has been around since the beginning and is still a blast to use. It takes a bit of practice to use, but it's so much fun hitting players with a flying blue brick that explodes, especially when it spazzes out. If you're really good with it, you can get 200 points in one round.
Outstanding shot!
I bet you weren't expecting a free skill to rank this high after how I regarded the effect. I loved this skill when I unlocked it, and it's still fun to use. Unlike the meteor and the mine, you can directly target players with the huge spike projectile, and if you're really good, you can freeze multiple players with one shot.
Monster kill.
Being frozen may not be threatening, but this is definitely a fun perk if you want to hinder players in a humiliating fashion, though not as humiliating as some other offensive skills later down the line. I was previously gonna rank this lower, but then I had a good look at the footage I got and I realized, this is the best electricity discharging skill. I'm getting a sense of deja vu. Anyway, what puts this above the other two skills is, once again, speed. With the other two, you can escape their range before they strike, but if this passes over you, you get caught instantly. No questions asked, you're taking damage. This is the only one of the 3 shot skills that works as fast as take a guess. But overall, I just get higher scores with this in general. Not only is it the best shock skill, it's the best projectile skill as well. Now we're getting into some of the really useful skills. Hover is basically a discount Crystal Wings. It's not as fast, agile, or as fun as the Wings, but it's good enough to get the job done. It feels oddly relaxing to fly over the chaos and watch everyone else get owned. Emphasis on oddly. Even missiles aren't that big of a deal since you're traveling pretty fast, and that's not to mention its usefulness for getting out of hairy situations. If you don't have the wings, then this skill is a good substitute. One of the best skills for annoying players. Boo will definitely give your victims a good fake scare. No, not that fake. I made a video for this years ago where I went around spooping players in an intense server. Good times. It's not a very powerful skill, but it makes up for that by being easy and entertaining to use. But there are still some funnier skills still to come. While technically not an airstrike, it's still the ultimate death from above skill. The piano is even better than the mini nuke. It may not be capable of as much damage and destruction, but it's faster and 100 times funnier. Everything from the umbrella telegraph to the key roll and its descent are just so amusing. And to top it all off, it has the single greatest payout in the game. It's easy to score 200 points with this. By the way, does anyone remember when there was an event where it rained pianos? All of those chords would make Slenderman cry. I've personally never eaten candy corn, but regardless of taste, these ones are well worth consuming. When you drop these sweets on the ground, anyone who eats them gets a temporary speed and jump height boost, which, as I've established already, are both great abilities. You can do some cool stuff with the extra mobility. Easily one of the best food-based drop skills. But there is still one more that's just a little bit better. But first, Super Jump is the first skill you get in the game. Haha, see what I did at the end of the candy corn segment? The Super Jump is a very useful skill if double jump is anything to go by. While its usability is more limited given its status as a skill, it's more powerful when you need to reach a high place. Overall, a great skill to start off with. By the way, in part 1 I forgot to show this comparison between the Super Jump and the Spooky Jump to prove my point that the former is indeed more powerful. Better late than never, I guess. Is this even useful? Or just silly? It certainly is silly, and surprisingly, it's really useful.
You serious?
I'm serious, I love this skill. With its ability, you can fly across nearly the whole map, which is extremely powerful. The trip effect isn't too big of a downside since more times than not, you end up in a pretty safe spot. Even without the unshakable perk, this skill is just so good at getting you across dangerous areas. And with the right positioning, you can fly through a nuke and live. Not recommended by any means, this can easily go wrong. The only thing that keeps it from going any higher is that, while not really detrimental, the trip effect is still somewhat irritating, which takes away a little bit of the fun. Healing yourself is a very good ability in this game, or hell, any game for this matter. Even though I don't use it as often as I used to, heal is among the most useful of the skills. From saving your hide to shrugging off an annoying stray bomb, heal will always help you survive, unless you try to hug a nuke or swim in lava. When I was writing this list, I thought it was going to be much higher than it is here, but I was surprised to find several skills that I like more.
My magic does nothing!
Bet you weren't expecting a food skill to be placed higher than heal. I love myself some drumsticks, and these ones are great at what they do. Each lot of drumsticks heals 30 health total, the same as heal, and they heal anyone that walks over them, which gives you points, so you can't waste them as easily as heal. Plus, it has a quicker recharge time. These drumsticks are great for a snack and offer decent support when you feel like tossing them towards other players. In my opinion, the best food-based drop skill. No! I've already beaten up that dead horse and I'm not doing it again. I'm gonna give this one straight to everyone. Now, let's start over. Super Dash is one of the more fun skills to use. What it lacks in utility, it more than makes up for with its duration. How does 13 seconds of super speed sound to you? During that period, you're practically untouchable, and if you're really good with platforming, you can use it to get out of grave situations where there's hardly any land. Like I said, its uses are somewhat limited, but it lasts long enough that you don't really care. Another good skill that I unfortunately forgot about is the Heart Flower. Maybe it's the somewhat convoluted ability, but for what it does, it's even better than the Drumsticks. Each flower heals more health than the drumsticks when they're fully grown, and they stay in the map until the round ends. Nothing can destroy them, and they have a pretty short cooldown, so you'll have yourself a mini garden of them halfway through the round. Once these flowers grow, anyone can pick them up for 15 health, which nets you the same amount of points, and if you need them for yourself, they're easy for you to find because of the markers. This is a skill that Yuko would be proud of. And now we have the ultimate support skill. Healing Pulse was my go-to skill a while back, and while that sole use I had for it isn't as significant today as it was back then, it still feels great to help others survive a round they're having trouble with. If you don't know by now, I pity you. With the Healing Pulse, you take up the role as a field medic. You can heal 30 health to any nearby players with the press of your F key, as well as healing 10 health yourself. I used to use this to help players reach Intensity 4, which was seemingly much harder back then than it is today. Regardless, I still like this skill. With excellent support and good survivability, this is the most useful skill. But there's still 3 skills that I like just a little more. Pretend you didn't see this coming. I'm sure most of you remember me making a certain video involving yours truly running around slapping people with Botanic Panic playing in the background. I just love this skill. It's not the most useful skill, it's not the most powerful skill, it's not even the most profitable skill. This silly joke skill gets this high because of how hilarious it is. Just the idea of running up to someone in the middle of a bomb-riddled area and dope slapping them like you're Mo Howard is more than enough for me to have fun with it. But it doesn't just slap players. You can slap anything affected by physics. Bombs, missiles, drop items, you can swat all those away if you don't want them in your sight. And did I mention how much I love the hitbox? This is the ultimate joke skill. Funny, silly, and surprisingly effective. There's only 2 more skills left to talk about, but they're so alike that I just can't talk about them separately. I think you all know where this is going, so without further ado, my top 2 skills in Super Bomb Survival. What happens when you weaponize the most harmless bomb in the game? You get mayhem. I initially didn't think much of the tornado bomb in mine until I realized that the former isn't threatening by any means. Then I started toying around with the 2 skills and I had so much fun that I forgot to use them properly. These skills are just stupid fun. Much like Slap, the blasts affect anything that responds to gravity. You place your bomb or mine down and boom, everything goes flying into the air. But the best part of all is how you can utilize their blasts. With the right timing and positioning, you can fly more than halfway across the map, and if you don't feel like traveling, you can easily touch the ceiling. Both these skills are excellent in their own right. The bomb, with its greater reach, does a bit better with causing chaos. The mine, with its greater speed, is better for traveling. I love both these skills for what they do, but there can only be one. In the end, the mine is both super fun and useful, but the bomb is crazy, chaotic, and stupid in all the right ways, and therefore my favorite skill. I honestly never expected to love these skills so much. Thank you all for watching, and thank you, Purple Leaf, for predicting my number 2 spot. Baneworth out.
I'm not going to buy your Robux.